Print competition. To some, it can be a daunting endeavor. To some, just the thought of having one's work judged by others is enough to make their stomachs turn. I was the same way. I actually entered the first couple of years as a professional member, got a few 79s, and then hung it up. I ended up on our North Dakota and then the Northern Light Board and worked for over 20 years on print crews as print chairman, and finally went back into competition with my first pro digital camera. I was able to print them myself on a Kodak die-sub printer. Got 3 merits the first year and 1 even went lone. From there the fire was lit. It was never about competing with others, but competing with and upping my own game. So after 16 years of competing in my second round, I have almost 50 print merits, averaging around 3 merits a year. So that's proof that anyone can do it. So first off is a quick explanation of the 12 elements, and then we'll walk through a couple prints I merited with and how they came to be. Basically, I'm trying to inspire you. Inspiration can come from many ways. You need to light your own fire. But don't worry about if it's something else that somebody else is going to say about your print. It's been said before. Use this as a learning tool. Print competition helps you to grow in so many ways. From just taking a normal portrait, to looking at the lighting, to if you're doing scenics, you're going to look for objects and you're going to look for foreground, and even the exposure and everything else that goes within the 12 elements. So now we're going to go through the 12 elements and then we'll look at those prints. So for print competition, the PEC's 12 elements of a merit photograph are as follows. 1. Impact. 2. Creativity. 3. Style. 4. Composition. 5. Print presentation. 6. Center of interest. 7. Lighting. 8. Subject matter. 9. Color balance. 10. Technical excellence. 11. Technique. And 12. Storytelling. Judges are looking for as many of these as possible. Yes, you can get a merit print if you don't have every single one of these covered, but an excellent photograph is going to have almost all of these covered. 1. Impact. When the print comes around, either on the screen or around the turntable, it has to have impact. Impact in whatever way possible. Something different, something shocking, something striking. It could be a lighting pattern, it could be a subject matter, it could be just the way the story is told right in front of them. Creativity. We're looking for as much possible creativity in the photograph. What has happened? If you put yourself in that position as the person taking that photograph, did they try something different, unique, and not just the same blah 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 picture? Style. Is it reflect a certain style? Is it reflect you? Is it your style? Or is it just copying? Is it something else that's been done before? Sometimes that's really hard to accomplish, obviously, because it seems like everything has been done before. Composition. We all know the rules of composition. Thirds, putting things in different spots. Part of this is also that ties in with print presentation, which may or may not be applicable these days because digital doesn't have an actual physical print. But the print presentation, in my opinion, also involves, did you put a border around it? By putting a border around it, either a thin, maybe a thin a rule around the image and then giving it some space, white space, black space, whatever around the outside, did that help in the composition of the actual photograph? Center of interest. Does your eye go and know where the center of interest is? Lighting. Is the lighting proper? Is the lighting unique? Is the lighting good? It doesn't matter necessarily what source it is, it's just that as long as the lighting is good. Subject matter. Have you handled the subject matter well? Color balance. Those two go hand in hand because the subject needs to be either in harmony with the rest of the background, which would be color balance, or it needs to break the rule really good, like maybe just opposite side of the color wheel or something like that. Color balance needs to look good throughout the whole photograph. Technical excellence. Is it in focus? Is the proper lens used? All of these things add up. So the knowledge of your camera and also your After Effects, as in working on the inside of Photoshop, are a big thing. Technique. Did you do something different through the technique? Was it used in the final? Was it a soft focus? Was it a You know, was it a long lens? Were you diffusing an edge? Were you darkening, vignetting? Those are different things. And of course, storytelling. Storytelling in the point that, does the picture grab you? Does it make you think about what else has happened? Where did this come from? And maybe what happened after this photograph was taken. Each and every one of these elements are a big part of the scoring. Some people say that, you know, take off so many points. When I was at judging school, that's not exactly what it is. You pretty much start at 100 and you look at it, and in your mind you're going over these things and you're saying, okay, it does not have this, it does not have that, and you're coming down. Average photograph, if you take a normal studio portrait, you're going to probably be in the 75 to 78s. You need to wow them just enough through either composition, through color, through your impact that comes across, something that's going to grab them, that's going to get into the 80 pluses. To go higher than that, it has to even be crazier than that. If you look at a lot of the loan books or the showcase books that PPA has had from each of the year's winners, less is more most of the time. Cutting down the picture and using only the elements that matter. It kind of reminds me of an English teacher that said, you know, write down something about a subject on a full page and then condense it down to a paragraph and then a sentence, and then can you put that in one word? That same feeling. And we're doing the same thing with photographs. Hopefully this helps, and we're going to look at some samples now, and then we'll come back and we will talk about the scoring process and look through a couple that have been done. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show a few techniques that can help you with your competition prints. This particular print has already been run through a couple of topazes and a couple different things to give me what I thought was the right color and the texture. So what I'm going to show you is adding some of the border around it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select it. I'm actually going to go in with a white border, so I'm going to go with a stroke. Since my size is about 20 by 8 at 300, I'm going to go with a small 6 pixels in the white just to separate it. I'm going to make sure my black is the back. I'm going to change my canvas and I'm going to add 4 inches in both directions. I'm not worried about if the size is the same or not. I just want to show, I mean, if it's going to fit in for competition, I want to just show that that's what I'm going to be using. Okay, so my size is over the 24. 24 is the limit, or pixel wise. So now that I've added that, if that's my final decision on that, then I will go back in and I will change this down to 24 inches on the long side. So that's what I've ended up with, and you can get an idea of what that print is looking like. I'm just using that as a selection purpose. You could put something over the top of it if you wanted to. Just for an example, you could easily go and use the select mode. You could eyedropper it or select a color range. And you could select right into here. Go underneath your adjustments. You could go with select, which would be here. You're going to go select just black. If you have blacks in it, you'll see that. I'm going to select it. Now I've got my black selected. I I could literally go in and pull up a texture. I'm going to pull up a texture here of something that I've got on my server. I'm going to drop in. I've got so many files in here. I'm going to grab a texture. Let's grab something from, I have no idea what it looks like. Let's just see if it's something we can use. We'll just use something like this one. So we're going to select all and close that, and then we're going to paste it into it. Since our layer is active, we're going to go like that, drag our corner out to this edge. And now what we've got is we've got options that we can take and use our move tool, and using our shift and our plus and minus, we can filter through our blending modes. So we've got, there's lighten, linear dodge, hard light, linear light. Not all of them are going to work difference. So let's go back, and we're actually going to go to the luminosity here, and I'm going to just take down the fill to somewhere around 34%. And I just want to give you an idea of that you're going to see some texture in the outer layer that I had already had black. Just as an example, to give you some ideas as to what you can do. If you want to have that into the blue and the same blue tones that are behind it, you could easily go back to your background, do your select of your color range again. You could find a blue that would match it, say something in here. You could then fill it with your foreground color, and then go back to your blend mode and decide how you want it. I'm in luminosity, but now let's change it back into something like overlay. It's going to be totally different. Gives you an idea. So this is where the creative process part comes in. Shut that one for a second. Working on portraits here. Let's say work on this dog. If you look at, here's the original that was photographed. The client is perfectly happy with it. If you want to do something for competition, you're going to need to darken it down, give it a little bit more depth to it. Might even want to go black and white. We'll wait and see here, but I'm going to now flatten that where I'm at. I'm going to do a cropping, do a general crop. Probably put his face in the upper left thirds. Once again, knowing the rules. And then I'm going to go in and same thing that I did before. I'm going to actually pull a select all, and I'm going to go to my stroke, but I'm going to go to a gray part way down here, so it's not all the way. I'm going to still stick with that 6 pixels we had before. I'm going to now add black. Once again, I'm going to go 3 in this case, so that I can add so that it is around it. There we go. And if you look close, you're going to see that the line is gray. If it's too much, you can go back in and change it. You can add something over the top. I'm going to show how we can add a texture right over the top, including the print and everything. I'm going to go back to another file that I've got, and let's pull up. Got so many. Pull up a different texture here. Use something that may be darker. Just searching for one that I like. Just to give you an idea, we're going to rotate this one. We're not worried about the color in this case because we can change it however. Copy it, shut it down, paste it on top, and then we're going to transform it to fit the corners. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to walk through our blending modes. We're going to see if it works underneath our... I actually don't want it to overlay. I want it to be something where I can look like I've got more on the outside. So what I need to do is I need to add a mask to this. And we're going to mask it roughly like this. And we're going to fill that one in black. And then we're going to take down our opacity around it. Just to give you some idea. This is maybe one that I would not do like this for competition, but just looking for some possibilities to just see if you'd like to add anything to your portraits. Usually if it does not add to the portrait, you don't want it, I'm going to just do a little bit of change here on the color, take down the saturation of it. I'm going to use it as more or less a marker. I can even check if my hue would make any difference on it. Maybe kind of more, there we go, kind of more matching of the background. And then I can decide how I want my saturation to match it up here. Okay, that just gives you another example. And number 3, I want to kind of give you a walkthrough on another portrait here. Judges, we're looking for hot spots, we're looking for center of interest. First off, one of the things is that it's looking like it needs to have the white shirt taken down a little bit, and we don't want to lose any of the black. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into a brightness and contrast. I'm going to take it down a little bit, and then I'm going to actually come in and I'm going to mask that. And I'm going to use a brush and just brush out what I want to make sure that it's still the color. So I'm going to make sure I've got that stuff. Okay, this is the first time I'm changing my opacity down, make sure her face is the way I want, that it doesn't look too weird. Here's my mask on and off. Okay, so I can make my decisions how I want that. Okay, and then I may flatten that, and then I may go back in and say I want to even create a lighting pattern from left to right. So what I could do is I could go in and even do a different darkness, do a brightness and do a different brightness here in contrast, and then bring in a gradient from this way. And I'm just holding it down to see what I end up with. If I want it at an angle at 45s, I can hold my shift and it'll bounce between the 45 points. Just to give you an idea, I can click it on and off to see if it's something I like. I want to keep it that way. Okay, do the first one, and then it may be a little bit, if it's still a little bit too hot, I may say, okay, hang on, I want to bring that up, and I'm going to look at my image, and then maybe I want to take and put it on a background of a certain color here. Maybe I want to have my stroke be one of the colors inside of it. It could be the red to match the shoes, which I can pull it off the shoes right there. Pull the color off of that. Maybe my 6 point that I had, and then I can put my background. Same thing again, I'm adding about 3, just for the fact that I know my file sizes are about that. That is all dependent. The other option is to say put it in a different spot if you want to have more black to one side than the other. I'm just doing them equal right now. And then if you look in closer, you're going to see that my stroke around it is the red. One of the big things is that make sure that that stroke is not competing with your image and that it adds to it and does not take away from it. Now based on that, if I wanted to do something else and kick it up, I may even go into something like, I'm going to try just a Silver Effects black and white here, just to see if black and white would do something, because I can still bring out some of the tonal qualities underneath of there. I'm going to set this up just to give you an idea. I don't know if you've got any plugins. A lot of times plugins will be a help. I can go underneath something like a full contrast. It's going to open up probably too much, but it gives me a different look there. Or I could go really crazy and I could go to something like this one, which is a pinhole type look. Pinhole look, I could go to high structure. High structure is pretty nice because it's giving you most of the same colors. If you look, you're not losing a lot of the blacks in there. And down here, what's cool is you can see it basically has the zone system. If any of you have ever run Silver Effects, you can see what's in what zone, and you can see that you've got all of them highlighted. A little bit of 10, not very much. Actually, I don't see too much there until I'm down to about 8. And there's some 9 or 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if I said yes to that, and I'd even play with any of the other sliders over here, this particular one is going to bring this up in the black and white that I just chose. So some of the things that I walk through when I'm doing my competition prints is I will try multiple things of the same subject, and I will save them to get an example to choose from. If you look at it, it's nice and sharp. I'm seeing lots of detail in there. Make sure that you don't over sharpen it, but that it looks good. I still have my color underneath. I can save this file and keep working on it until it's what I like. Just have a number of files that you can play with. Probably set up a folder on your desktop that says competition prints, and from there you can go and make some selections. One of the hardest things to do is to find and do it at the last second. So have a file sitting on your desk and duplicate and put images in that you're interested in, and then anytime that you get some time to play with your images, go through them, do some work on them. Use your books, use things that you've seen on the internet that maybe somebody's had a loan collection or print or a merited print. Use that as an example and just start playing. Use your tools that you've got and have fun. Challenge yourself and you become better at it. And lastly, I'd like to go over the print scoring system. We have exceptional, superior, excellent, deserving of a merit, above average, average, acceptable, and unacceptable. So you want to hit for at least the deserving of a merit 80 to 84. And some of you have probably seen many prints that have gone into the excellent, superior, and exceptional. Most people that are starting out that don't do a lot of work on their prints end up either in the average or above average. So once again, make sure your lighting is good, make sure you're cropping, make sure you retouch everything that you've done on this print. Make sure that it is done to the highest quality standards that you can. And good luck. From here, it's more or less the creativity, and if it's a digital print, follow the rules that they have in there for the size. I think it's 4,000 pixels on the longest side. If it's a finished print, you can basically print on anything these days. You can print on fine art paper, you can print on gloss, you can print on e-surface, your choice. In the old days, glossy was the king. Glossy still probably shines the best under the lights, but almost any type of paper is used these days. So good luck and have fun in print competition.